Monday. Welcome in. Welcome into the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Hey to you, everybody, on this Reaction Monday. And boy, does it appear that we forevermore have some things to react to today. Not only weekend results, but a little, I don't know, breaking news, if you want to call it that. People out there reporting today, here on this Monday, ahead of tomorrow's announcement, who the new permanent opponents are going to be in the new SEC football schedule beginning next year. So you got that info. If you haven't heard it, I'll tell you what they're saying out there. That's coming up. Of course, like we say, weekend results. It is, I won't go to great lengths to pat myself on the back, because my shoulders hurt and everything's getting old now, and there's a risk I may throw something out of joint trying to pat myself on the back too much. But the Cowboys and the Saints are the two worst teams in the NFL, and all it has taken is 3 weeks to prove that. And here we are. We watched 1 or 2 weekends of preseason football, and I told you, I hate to be that guy, because especially on radio, because when you get something wrong, you should equally proclaim it, I think. But I told you, man, all you got to do is watch a quarter or two, and you can tell these teams don't have it. Particularly the Cowboys, they're just good and awful on defense. And so, we got more info backing that up. And State is 4-0 on the season and 4-0 in the non-conference, and we tip our cap. Thank you to Jeff Lebby and staff for getting that done. They're 4-0 in the non-conference, and they may not win a conference game, but all I know is they sure do, look to be better than they were a year ago, and you just never know what might happen. So, a good start for them. Ole Miss 4-0. Southern Miss 2-2. They took one on the chin to La Tech this weekend. So we got all that ground to cover with you here today. And I'm glad to be back on the live stream. Hey to you out there in Facebook and YouTube and X, formerly Twitter land. Y'all can drop a comment there and get in on the show that way. The first one today was on the YouTube live stream. It's Hail State Fan who said, Happy Maroon Monday. How about that? We got Maroon Friday now. We got Maroon Monday. He said, I hope everyone's well. Non-conference is over for us, and the schedule is about to get real. Sure is, isn't it? It's about to get real. We're really going to find out what we're made of now. And that goes kind of for anybody that's jumping into SEC play in this league. But, you can comment like that. Just drop, type it in there, post it. It pops up on this nice, neat column right here on this computer screen in front of me. And then I can click whatever comment it is, and it pops up on the screen for us all to see. When I said Cowboys and Saints, the two worst teams in the NFL, JS290 commented Falcons. We got to throw them in the mix. And you can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. The number to text is 885-3776. 601 number, 885-3776. And you text that, I'll get it here. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It's the best. I had some of the original smoked sausage flavor this morning for breakfast. And then, of course, you can call me on the Junction phone line. Junction delis all across the state, fueled by Prince Oil Company. You just pull in there and put some fuel in your gas tank. Go inside, run through the deli at the Junction, put some fuel in your belly. Number to call, 897-1059. That's a 601 number, 897-1059. First, I have to retrace a couple of steps with you here. And I'm going to also lay this at the feet of my good old buddy, old pal, man known as Beaver. I'm going to lay this at his feet, too. Hey, Beav.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
A good Monday to you, sir.
You as well.
So, Beav, and this is for anybody who was listening at the end of the day on Friday to this show. Everything's rocking along. We had about 30 minutes left or whatever. Terry Fant was going to come on at the end, and we were going to jump into the Bible and have some Bible questions with him at the end of the Friday show. And then all of a sudden, just nothing. I'm gone. That was it. Show just ended. No announcement, nothing. Beaver was left scrambling. You know, thank goodness for C Spire, because the phone lines were up. I could still call him. Beav, here's what happened. Now, I know I sort of explained it to you, but I haven't talked to you since Friday afternoon. We're rocking along here at my studio in Tupelo, Mississippi. And we're rocking along. And if you were to, Friday afternoon, Beaver, if you had looked at the weather radar, you would not see anything that would alarm you. Okay? So Beaver, you wouldn't have seen like a big line of storms coming across or big humongous blobs covering this part of the state. Nothing. You wouldn't have seen any of that. Friday afternoon, if you'd seen it, you'd seen a lot of nothing on the radar. And two little orange, circles with each other traveling just, kind of through Tupelo. And man, with whatever it was, 25 or so minutes left in the show, rain started beating up against the window. Then I heard the awfulest clap of thunder associated with immediate lightning that I might have ever heard. I mean, out of nowhere, right outside the studio, boom! Then the whole place is shaking from what feels like unbelievable wind. I'm hearing all kinds of crap hitting the window in the studio, which is on the second floor. Beaver, do you remember being on the phone with me and I said, Beaver, I think it's hailing here. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, Beaver, guess what? It was not hail. You know what it was? It was mud and rocks and debris and sticks and everything traveling like 100 miles an hour getting thrown up the side of the building. It wasn't hail. It sounded like hail on a window. It was junk off the ground. Beaver, trees are snapped in half, thrown across driveways, over my neighbor's fence, a whole tree over the fence and in their swimming pool. Behind where we live, trees snapped in half, indiscriminately. Some are fine, some are not. Great big crepe myrtle at the end of my driveway, obliterated. Unfortunately, this wind did not take out these godforsaken hackberry trees along my driveway. They're still there. Be fine if they go. Beaver, get this. My daughter's trampoline, it's a big one, trampoline, in our backyard is lifted off the ground, up into the air, thrown about 35 yards over the fence into my neighbor's yard, up against their house, is laying there mangled with a giant tree on top of it. All this stuff happened, and here's the point. Weather watchers, it was something that I've never seen or experienced before. Let me tell you what it was. They called it a microburst. Beaver, regarding weather phenomenon, have you ever heard of something called a microburst?
Microburst. No, I haven't, but it sounds pretty sinister.
It sounds bad, doesn't it? My neighbor told me that's what they were calling it, was a microburst. Beaver, everything I just described to you happened to one small area in a neighborhood in Tupelo, Mississippi, less than a square mile. All less than 1 square mile. It looked as if a tornado had touched down in places and did the weird things that tornadoes do. Like I mentioned, the trampoline, Beaver. The fence in our yard around the trampoline, undamaged, untouched. The trees in the backyard around the trampoline, undamaged, untouched. There's one little teeny tiny opening that somehow this entire trampoline got picked up in the air, twisted into a pretzel, and thrown into the neighbor's yard without doing any damage to anything else. Anyway, what they say that a microburst is, Beaver, is this like real strong storm, but something happens. You'd have to look it up to see the technical terms, but they say that something happens where wind, instead of going, emanating straight out from the storm system, goes straight down. In like a moment's notice, that this high-powered wind gets turned and goes straight down into the ground or hits the ground and then shoots out in all directions like 100 miles an hour. Right after I talked to you on the phone, Beaver, when I called you and said, hey, we were without power here, something's happening, we're off, I think it's hailing, it wasn't hail. I look out the front. Across the street, I see a giant tree that's down across a neighbor's driveway. And all of a sudden, this wind picked up again so fast that it's blowing rain and everything. All of a sudden, I couldn't even see across the road. Then when visibility does come back into focus, all the trees are being blown so hard by wind. A lot of them are this almost like they're laying down sideways. I am amazed that more trees weren't down. And again, when that's happening, Beaver, you could go 2 miles from here and it's no wind and bluebirds singing and sunny skies. And I am not exaggerating. It was the weirdest thing. I had never seen anything like it. And then again, like you say, one neighborhood in Tupelo, Mississippi, less than a square mile, looked like a war zone. Shingles blown off houses, things flipped. I mean, trees down. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. So I'm not exaggerating it. That's really kind of how it looked and sounded. And that's why we were rocking along on a Friday show, Friday afternoon. And all of a sudden, with 20 minutes left, bam, it's over. The end. So, Beav, didn't you tell me at one time you used to be like a real weather aficionado?
Yeah. I used to be very, very intrigued by weather.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I always have been too, but maybe not to the same extent as someone like you, but I always have been fascinated by it. And the whole thing on the internet, I was today years old when ... Well, as of Friday afternoon, Beaver, I was today years old when I heard of something called a microburst. So what I need to know, Beav, is how rare that is. I mean, it's got to be rare. I've never heard of it before. Certainly never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's really strange. And that's why so many people are so into weather, because like stuff like that, like just pretty much just your neighborhood is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Like how are these things seemingly so contained, and they're not contained, but it's just, you get what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
Why does it hit here? And that's the question has always been with like a tornado.
Yeah.
Why will it pick up a car
right
here and then a house right next door will not be touched? But to be specifically in your neighborhood, it sounds so very strange. It's almost like a classic Sarah McLachlan. You're building a mystery.
Well, and Beav, here's the thing about a tornado. Okay, there's no doubt that the damage that we had in our neighborhood was tornado-like when we're talking about these indiscriminate trees just snapped like toothpicks. Some of them snapped and thrown into swimming pools, trampolines, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff. It's tornado-like, the damage. Well, a tornado will do that when it what? Gets on the ground and just tracks for a mile. Well, what I'm telling you is this: you take the same type of damage that this microburst caused, if you extrapolate that out across an entire mile track, well, it's a huge story. This is a huge story. Is what I'm telling you. You'd be hearing about it on the news and everything. Man, a tornado through there, and because that's what tornadoes do. They track and it does it for longer. This was the same type of damage. It's just like it drew a bullseye on one, again, less than a square mile. And then this microburst, the wind goes straight down and boom, it's like a bomb hit. It's crazy. Never seen anything like it. And, I will admit, it's probably the kind of thing that, it's happened maybe, the word microburst or a story about it every now and then would come across, and you don't pay attention because it seems small, or it was just one little place, or it was not where I live, so I didn't worry about it. Well, when it happens where you live, you're like, good night. I didn't even know this could do this. Last thing, and then I'm moving on we'll get back to football. Long explanation as to why I went off the air on Friday. But I'm fascinated with the weather. Never heard of a microburst before. But when the rain finally stopped and I'm over there in my neighbor's backyard, we're looking at our trampoline that's gotten teleported up against his side of his house and on the ground, tree on top of it. We're looking at it, and we look back towards my place where it came from and scratching our head, and it's like you can't even figure out what's the path. How in the world would that get from up there to right here? Nothing between here and there. It's a wooden fence, trees, none of that's damaged. It's not like it went sideways because it would have torn all that up. It had to have gone straight up and straight down. And then for it to do that, it'd have to go way up in the air. It really is just never seen anything like it. So, okay, I'll admit, it's not rare. I have often times where I have to miss time on the radio. It's not rare for all of a sudden the show not to be there. I get it. It's rare for that to happen. So anyway, just tuning in, I gave a long explanation as to what happened on Friday afternoon. We're rocking along on the show. We had stuff planned. And then, boom, all of a sudden we're without power. There's a storm outside that is throwing the kind of lightning and thunder like I never heard. Then I started hearing weird noises I've never heard before. The wind doing things to the building and to other stuff. Microburst. Not a tornado. Tornado-like damage, just not a tornado. Something called a microburst. Yeah, I agree, Sven. That's what I was saying. He said on YouTube, what the heck? I mean, never heard of anything like it. Now, let's see. Fletcher commented and said, Matt, those he texted the show in the Country Please and text line. He says, Matt, those microbursts happen here in Utah pretty often. They turn over 18-wheelers. See, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so you've heard it. You're familiar with it. That's what I'm saying. With my own eyes, I've been in and around tornado stuff, and in the times where I've lived and it's been the worst, it might be at night or I was in the safe middle of the house and didn't actually see this with my own eyes. But what I'm saying is, with my own eyes, I've never seen trees doing what they were doing when the wind from this microburst hit it the other day. I'm amazed that more of them didn't wind up on the ground. They turn over 18-wheelers, he says. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona, says they're not all that rare, but hardly ever covered outside of when they flatten part of a town. Happen all the time out here, talking about in Arizona, during monsoon season, and cause these giant dust storms in the desert. Well, I'm telling you, it was something else. All right, I tell you what. At some point we got to do some business, right? We can't go over Friday's weather the whole show. So let's do headlines, and that'll get us started.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines on the show brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Mortgagemanms.com. First up, Chris Lowe, formerly an employee of the acronym, now works for On3, is breaking the news here today. Somebody has given him the scoop of what the SEC is going to release and announce tomorrow. The 3 permanent opponents for every football team beginning next season. It'll be a 4-year deal. I'll give you the shortened version of it. For Mississippi State, they say their 3 opponents are going to be Ole Miss, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. What do you think? For Ole Miss, their 3 permanent opponents are going to be Mississippi State, LSU, and Oklahoma. How about that? Anyway, more on those, and we'll tell you who the other schools have as we get going forward today. And this headline from this weekend's action on the ACC football schedule. listen closely. The ACC, the conference, fined one of its members, Syracuse, $25,000 and publicly reprimanded the school today for faking injuries in a 34-21 win over Clemson over the weekend. They called the actions, quote, here we go, here's the quote from the ACC. Again, this is not the NCAA. This is their own conference. They called it, quote, unethical and contrary to the spirit of the rules. In a statement, the ACC said Syracuse violated an NCAA rule that was established this year aimed at stopping teams from faking injuries to slow down play. With 9 minutes, 25 seconds left in the fourth quarter, ACC says action of two players and a coach, here it is, quote, were a clear attempt to gain an unmerited advantage by stopping the game in order to secure an injury timeout. So here's what all this means. On the same weekend, the ACC reprimands one of its teams for faking injuries. The SEC reprimands publicly an officiating crew for not administering the rules in the Oklahoma and the Auburn game. And we're just 3 weeks into the year. Those headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank. Football and Reaction Monday and your texts and comments and phone calls coming up next. Stick around.
This is
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple. Bun size, 3 links, bun size. Look at that right there. Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. We'll be right back after this message from C Spire. My name is Matt Wyatt. I host the Matt Wyatt radio show out of my home using C Spire fiber.
And when we hit the road as a family, Matt's show goes with us, thanks to C Spire Wireless. Its ultra-reliable nationwide network lets me broadcast live from anywhere.
And never miss a moment that matters.
Connecting you to what inspires you most on C Spire's blazing fast 5G network. And right now, get your choice of free phone. That's customer inspired. That's C Spire.
Y'all like coffee?
I know you do.
Check it out. Little High Point Roasters from New Albany, Mississippi. That is the breakfast blend. It's a whole bean. And if you notice, that's how much I've had already. Brazil Oberon. Not Orgeron or Orgeron, you LSU. No, Brazil Oberon. That ain't all. What we got there? What flavor is that? Papua New Guinea, grade AA. Bring it on. High Point Roasters, New Albany, Mississippi. Roasted right there. That's whole bean. One more. I got more.
Perfect. Don't worry, he's got a menu full on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at the Zone105.9.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Hometown heroes. That's your local Farm Bureau insurance agents. All right, let's see. Country Please and text line. Bama fan said, good morning to you. Good Monday to you, Matt. Says, as you know, probably not an Auburn fan for sure, but did you see the game and the officiating? It was bad. Okay, no, I didn't see the whole game. I did see, I was in the press box Saturday at the State and Northern Illinois game getting ready for radio. And I did see the play happen where it was like catch, fumble return for touchdown for Auburn, and they brought it back. Yeah, so, they ruled that it was an incomplete pass. I saw all that, and I did think it was marginal. I didn't see, again, I wasn't, locked into the TV like a lot of folks were able to do watching that game. But, again, from what I could see, it didn't look like it was just clearly a catch and possession and a couple of steps and then a fumble. Like, I could very easily see why they would call that one the way they called it. Some of the other stuff, the SEC came out and said they were wrong. And it does seem like it was a very one-sided deal. Bill texted in. He says, good afternoon, Matt. Just an FYI for you. Available now on Angel Studios. Greater. You need to watch the movie Greater. All right, Bill. Thanks for the recommendation. I can watch it on the Angel Studios app, maybe. Let's see. J-Rock says, hey, Matt, invited friends over for a lasagna on Sunday, and they brought the dessert, pecan pie, bluebell ice cream. It did not disappoint. And then he said, how did Roosters Georgia State turn out? I'll tell you how it turned out. It was an absolute bloodletting. I mean, Vandy embarrassed them. 70-21. All right, 70-21. And then what was the margin? Y'all will have to help me remember this, because Rooster called in. He had a certain take on the Tennessee and UAB deal. It wound up 56-24 Tennessee, and 17 of UAB's points were in the second half. It was 42-7 at halftime. So 56-24. Good for a 32-point margin in that game. However that works out. And I can't remember exactly what it was that, he said about it. It was either Thursday or Friday. It might have been Friday. I probably should be able to remember it. How do we do? All right, so J-Rock, here it is. I wrote my own picks down from last week. How did I do? State beat Northern Illinois 38-10. I picked State 31-17. So, I'm in the ballpark, but they beat them by 14 more points than I gave them credit for. I picked 31-17. It was 38-10. Here's where, I got one blatantly wrong, but I was right in terms of I was in the ballpark. I picked Arkansas to beat Memphis 38-35. They lose 32-31. So in terms of the competitiveness of the ball game, we were in there. I picked Tennessee to win by 50 points, 50-0. Wrong on that. They won by 32. My pick was Oklahoma over Auburn, 28-21. The final was 24-17. So I had it at a 28-21 7-point margin. It winds up 24-17 7-point margin. Pretty much nailed that one. Here's one I got blatantly wrong. I had Ole Miss winning 38-31 in a competitive game. Non-competitive never was. Never even, it was just not competitive. 45-10, a 35-point win. Let's see here. I had Miami over Florida 28-14. Final 26-7. I had Vandy by 25 over Georgia State, 35-10. The final wound up a 49-point win, 70-21. Let's see. I took LSU over CELA, 31-0. It was 56-10. So I had a shutout 31-point deal. It wound up a 46-point win. I took Texas over whoever it is they played. Who was it? Sam Houston. I had Texas 24-6. It was actually 55-0. And I got talked into that because everybody, and it's rightfully so. Everybody said, well, why would you give Texas credit for being able to go up against anybody, score a lot of points till they show you they can do it? Yeah, okay. So we had it 24-6, but they went 55-0. Looked pretty good. So, for the most part, it was in the ballpark on these games. Oh, and Missouri and South Carolina. What was the score on that one? Well, I guess I wrote it down. I know I picked Missouri to win it. They did, 29-20. I think that's about what we expected. So anyway, that's a look back at what we picked at the end of the week last week. Grumpy says, Grumpy wondered what happened Friday. He was listening in. He wondered where it went. Well, there you go. Yeah, microburst knocked us out. Unnamed texter says, hey, Matt, we had the exact same thing happen here in Madison some years ago. They were calling it straight line winds. Very powerful. He sent me a picture of the article back in the day. 90-mile-per-hour straight line winds caused widespread damage in Madison, Rankin, and Scott counties, according to the National Weather Service. But it was a microburst. And yeah, that's what they said. It could get up to 100 miles an hour. Sure looked like it. Hey, Breck. He texted the show. My man, Breck Riley, fellow broadcaster, says, concerning the microburst, that's what knocked down the radio tower in Kosciuszko back in 2021. A tree fell over on one of the tower's wires, and it brought the tower down on top of that station. It's amazing what those things do. Squirrel sent me a picture of his trampoline, or the neighbor's trampoline, up against his house because of a microburst a couple of years ago at Lake Carolyn. And that's exactly the way, well, similar, how mine looked on the neighbor's house. Gina wants to know if insurance would cover it. Yeah, it's like any other storm if you have that kind of coverage for your homeowners. Jason in Flagstaff says, I saw the other day that it was Uncle John DeLusick's birthday. He'd be a good guest for the show as often as weather gets discussed. That's a good point. We ought to get John on here. We could probably get him in here. We're in the same town. Keith and Hernando, he says, go over what happened in the Auburn-Oklahoma game craziness. Well, several non-calls on what Auburn felt like should have been pass interference. You had the early touchdown for Auburn that was brought back. They said it was an incomplete pass instead of ruling it a fumble. They let the play go on the field as they're supposed to go. Come back, review it. I saw the review process of that one. Didn't feel like it was super egregious to overturn it like they did. I could easily watch it and decide that the receiver never really did have possession. Even though he took a step or two, he never really had possession of the ball, and it comes out, hits the ground. I could see why they ruled it that way. The thing that was the most egregious, though, was the officials and the officiating crew not knowing the rule. that the Southeastern Conference had to point out in a statement where the rule says any sort of using a fake substitution or simulating substitution stuff to confuse an opponent is actually against the rules. It's a 15-yard penalty. And so basically the reason that that's so egregious, the reason that the SEC would put a statement out on social media is because there's a rule for it to make sure that doesn't happen. And if anybody tries it, it's a 15-yard penalty. Well, you not only tried it, you did it. They let it go because basically you had an officiating crew who didn't know that rule. They just didn't know it. You know what I mean? Because anybody who's a part of the formation, there's an official on the sideline, on the line of scrimmage on both sidelines. So when you're lined up there, you're right in front of him. He saw the whole thing. That's what it comes down to. And let these conversations begin. Coach Spate texted the show and he goes, "What are the chances of Dan Mullen to Arkansas next year?" Well, it really is kind of like down to what is Dan Mullen's priority right now. Where's your best chance of okay, let me say, we're not saying that other conferences are equal to the SEC in terms of their level of play and how good the teams actually are and how many NFLers you have on the team. That's not what I'm saying. But all I am saying is, which of those two places are you more likely to win a conference championship? UNLV in their conference or Arkansas in its conference? Which of those two places are more likely to fire you over heightened expectations, UNLV or Arkansas? I'm just saying there's a couple different ways to look at this. All right. Let's talk about, let me give you some thoughts. I'll give you 5 or 6 bullet point thoughts about Mississippi State's win over Northern Illinois. I'd like to know your thoughts as well. We'll do that when we come back. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
The Junction Deli's Convenience Redefined and Prince Oil Company, a match made in heaven. The Junction Deli, fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil Company has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960. It's a pretty good little while. Wonderful people. Man, am I ever more tickled that they're a part of the show and I'm a part of their team now. As you know, if you listen to the radio show, I've been to the Junction in several different places around the state. I've bought gas just like you at a lot of places that are fueled by Prince Oil Company, and they are really wonderful people. By the way, that brand spanking new Junction Deli, Chevron, right across the highway from Germantown High School. It's in Canton. We say Gluckstadt. Do you realize they and other Junction Delis, they serve country pleasing sausage over there on the buffet? They don't get much better than that. The Junction and Prince Oil Company. That's what I'm talking about. We'll be right back after this message from C Spire. My name is Matt Wyatt. I host the Matt Wyatt radio show out of my home using C Spire fiber.
And when we hit the road as a family, Matt's show goes with us, thanks to C Spire Wireless.
Its ultra-reliable nationwide network lets me broadcast live from anywhere.
And never miss a moment that matters.
Connecting you to what inspires you most on C Spire's blazing fast 5G network. And right now, get your choice of free phone. That's customer inspired. That's C Spire.
Welcome to my photography studio downtown Tupelo. Everybody needs a headshot, especially if you're in the professional world, in sales, any sort of customer related business, outreach business, anything like that. Everybody needs a headshot. Here at my photography studio in Tupelo, we do a lot more than just headshots, but we're kind of focusing on headshots for that very reason, because everybody needs it. Let me show you a little something about it. One thing I'm able to do here is sort of have 2 to 3 different looks in a small space that we can do in a short amount of time. Several different looks and styles of lighting with studio equipment, studio lighting. Some with flash, and a particular look that I've worked on, a constant lighting scenario where you sit down, the lights are already on, you lean in, and we kind of illuminate the whole face. And we get several options in the studio in a short amount of time. Here's 2 priorities for me when I shoot headshots. One is it has to look like you. Okay, none of this fake stuff. The other goal is it's got to look like you at your best. And that's my job as a photographer. And I've got a lot of experience over the years, and I feel really confident I can do that for you. I would love to schedule a session for you here at the studio in downtown Tupelo. I'm above the Reed's Gift Shop, just off of Troy Street, the corner of Troy and Spring. If you can't get to Tupelo, that's okay. Let's talk about it, because we can pack the studio up and come to you if the schedules fit and that sort of thing. I'd love to help you with your headshots. I think everybody needs them. I'm inviting you to please email me, reach out. You can go to my website, mattwhyattmedia.com, email address matt@mattwhyattmedia.com, and let's talk about your headshot. Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi, local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights.
To you worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you in the Bureau, back to you and with you in the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. CWR said it's cheaper to eat in Fayetteville than Las Vegas. I guarantee you that's true. Yeah, and if you want to, depends on if you like where you live too. You're talking about a coach. If it's me, you could pay me a whole lot less to live in Fayetteville. You would have to pay me a whole lot more to get me to live in Vegas, right? But not everybody looks at it that way. J-Rock says, you have a better chance of going to the college football playoff at UNLV than you do at Arkansas. Now think about that. Is that true? I mean, because if it is, maybe there's your answer. Jason in Flagstaff says Dan Mullen would be a fool to leave UNLV for anything other than Ohio State or something. Says they are loaded, as Ron White said. I forgot what the exact number was, but it was double digits of X 4 and 5-star Power 4 guys they got this year to play in the Mountain West Conference. So they're loaded with transfers and stuff. They got good skill players too. Does Mullen strike you as the kind of guy who's always listening to offers from other teams? Sorry, I had to. Sorry, I just had to. Hey, let me give you some thoughts on State's win over Northern Illinois, huh? Let's do it. And I'd love to know your thoughts as well. Questions, opinions, otherwise. Ugly first half for State. Even though they had the lead in the halftime locker room, it's kind of just an ugly, sloppy first half. It really was the only really, really sloppy half in some regards that they've played this year. But it was equally as dominant in the second half as it was sloppy in the first half. So that number kind of jumps out to me. Let's see. State was ahead at halftime 14-10, but in the first half, Northern Illinois actually outgained State 170 yards to 148. So you see, that was pretty surprising to me. The other thing that was really sort of a head scratcher, it's just hard to believe. according to the official stats, see, I thought it was more than this. But according to the official stats, State had 35 passing yards at halftime. And we know there was a couple of missed throws in there, like you finally got them open down the field one-on-one and just kind of pump it over their head, overthrew it. But outside of that, there was lots of confusion on where to go with the ball underneath, and you're sitting there with 35 yards at halftime throwing the football. It was really hard to wrap your head around, like how they were getting that done. Lots of 3-man rush, some 4-man rush. You didn't see any real pressure or blitz from Northern Illinois until the second half, so you weren't really getting that in the first half. It was a whole bunch of drop zone stuff, just 2 high safeties, drop it, keep it in front of you, don't give up home run stuff. The couple of times you were able to generate a home run throw, you missed it. And so, sloppy first half. Bunch of penalties. Let's see, State had 4 penalties in the first half. I guess they actually had more in the second half. But it's covered up by the fact that these came out in the second half and physically just took over the game. And maybe, your opponent wears down on a hot day in the second half, you would think. But second half, State outgained Northern Illinois by almost 200 yards. It was 304 yards to like 90-something in the second half. It was just totally one-sided in the second half. Shapen was really accurate in the second half, 6 of 8, 125 yards. That 1 touchdown pass came in the first half. So, that it's a tale of 2 halves type of thing where, Northern Illinois had a good plan. They were ready to play. They're, pretty physical themselves. But State was just a little bit sloppy offensively and kind of got the game out of balance. They were fortunate to be ahead at halftime. Another thought was, I think you've seen enough now to know who your punter is. I think the left footer Pulliam he's just got to be your punter because, the other kid, when nobody rushing and not in ball games, can put on a show. But it just seems like, maybe it tightens up or something when people are running at him. He had the shank there. He had one in the Southern Miss game, too. That was a short one. You're trying the rugby-style stuff, and that's the way it looks to me. Bothwell was really good. And he, as a team, that offense sort of set the tone for the second half on the first drive, the second half coming out of the locker room. But he individually really set the tone for the second half. First couple of carries, they got a penalty right out of the chutes. They're backed up, 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20, something like that, to start the third quarter. And then he goes on a 22-yard run, runs over a couple of people, and it really just sort of set the tone for the whole deal. So we gave him the player of the game. Even though he didn't have a touchdown run, he did have 100 yards. And he averaged 6 yards a carry. So that jumped out at me. I thought one of the best plays that Shapen made in the whole game, maybe the 2 best plays he made in the whole game, one was the late throw to Evans down there where he gets tackled inside the 5, but it's a one-on-one go ball, and they brought the safety from center field, blitzed him, didn't get picked up, so he's about to get hit, and he knows it, and it was one of those turn and throw, and, man, he dropped it in there and threw it absolutely perfect. It was, Blake can really throw it. I've told y'all that. He can really throw the football, and it's almost like he needed some pressure to get him on his back foot a little bit where he throws it and doesn't overthrow it, because when he steps into it, it's like out of a cannon and overshot a couple of guys. So he needed to be falling back and throw it as he's getting hit, and then it's just perfect. But it was a heck of a throw. And then the other one was that 3rd down scramble. It was 3rd and long, 3rd and 19 or 3rd and 20 or something, and I think they rushed 4, played zone behind it, too high, dropped the whole coverage, and he split it and went and ran for a first down. It was a great play. So he actually did a lot with his legs, Shapen, ran the ball 11 times for 51 yards. The other thing that jumps out, too, that's worth talking about is, another short yardage, high leverage, if you want to call it that, situation in the game, a 4th and 1, where it's Kamario Taylor in there running the ball. And, boy, does he look good. Because you get it going downhill a little bit, in comes the safety, and he just ran slap over the safety. So another chance for him where he's a part of what you're going to do. That was good. And then, as a lot of people have noted, it's 2 weeks in a row where in the second half you've gotten to see more from Xavier Gayton, the young running back. I think he's 2 years removed from high school, so he'd have been a freshman last year. But, man, you know, he is on skates. The kid is he glides around faster than everybody else. And the other running backs are fast, but it's like then he goes in and gets a carry, and he just jumps off the screen at you how lightning fast and how quick he is. He has such a burst, you know, and the other guys are getting more carries. He only had 4 carries in the whole game, so goodness, he's fresh, you know. But in terms of a burst, an SEC type running back burst of 0 to 60 in point ever how many seconds, he gets there as fast as anybody on the roster. You can tell why they really like him and really are looking for ways to get him confident, get him more involved. I was looking at him after the Alcorn State game, and you could tell, like, you know, in terms of how he's built, you know, if he's standing next to Fluff Bothwell looks like an SEC starting veteran running back. That's how he's built, okay? Like, that's what you're shooting for. Gayton still looks to me like, you know, he needs another cycle in the weight room. You know what I mean? Winter, spring, summer in the weight room, and then, you know, the filling out happens and that sort of thing. He's not quite as big and thick, but he can ever more run. I mean, he can run. So that was good to see. Defense created some turnovers. You know, anyway, I just think, you know, the overall summary coming out of the ball game to me was that's kind of what I thought it was another good indication of how far along they are and how much better they are overall as a team as they were a year ago, which is leaps and bounds. And, you know, they're very well coached, very well put together, and they have the right mentality. When you go out and you're flat, okay, it's hot as all get out for a non-conference game in your 4th game, right? You've had these bunch of home games. You got another one coming next week. The student section was not full for the first time. You know, come out of halftime and the stadium's half empty because it's blazing hot. The atmosphere was dead as a doornail. And you still just, you know, lace up your work boots and just go do your job and do it a whole lot better than the other guys, and you come out of there with a 38-10 win on a day when you weren't your best for the first 2 quarters at all. You might have even been this year your worst for 2 quarters in the first part. Still held a halftime lead and still run away with the ball game. I just thought overall it was just another example of how much farther along they are now, and why there's some positivity right now with State's program. You never know. Get a team in here, that team's coming in is a lot better than State. Tennessee is. But you get them in there, you just never know. You might pull it off. You just might pull it off. All right, hour 2 coming up. Stick around.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Yeah. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple bun size, 3 links bun size. Look at that right there. Whee! Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Welcome to my photography studio downtown Tupelo. Everybody needs a headshot, especially if you're in the professional world, in sales, any sort of customer related business, outreach business, anything like that. Everybody needs a headshot. Here at my photography studio in Tupelo, we do a lot more than just headshots, but we're kind of focusing on headshots for that very reason, because everybody needs it. Let me show you a little something about it. One thing I'm able to do here is sort of have 2 to 3 different looks in a small space that we can do in a short amount of time. Several different looks and styles of lighting with studio equipment, studio lighting. Some with flash and a particular look that I've worked on, a constant lighting scenario where you sit down, the lights are already on, you lean in, and we kind of illuminate the whole face. And we get several options in the studio in a short amount of time. Here's 2 priorities for me when I shoot headshots. One is it has to look like you. Okay, none of this fake stuff. The other goal is it's got to look like you at your best. And that's my job as a photographer. And I've got a lot of experience over the years, and I feel really confident I can do that for you. I would love to schedule a session for you here at the studio in downtown Tupelo. I'm above the Reed's Gift Shop, just off of Troy Street, the corner of Troy and Spring. If you can't get to Tupelo, that's okay. Let's talk about it, because we can pack the studio up and come to you if the schedules fit and that sort of thing. I'd love to help you with your headshots. I think everybody needs them. I'm inviting you to please email me, reach out. You can go to my website, mattwhyattmedia.com, email address matt@mattwhyattmedia.com, and let's talk about your headshot.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi, local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV, RV wins.
What, are you going to take the RV to the mountains or go pick up your dry cleaning? RV wins! Are we cleaning the gutters or taking the RV camping? RV wins! Are we getting a new passport or cruising up the coast? RV wins!
Don't forget, you got that trip to Sweden coming up.
Oh, yeah, passport, then RV.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states and situations.
Get a $15 prepaid MasterCard after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
We are good to go.
With more of the Matt Wyatt Show. Coming to you direct and live at the Zone 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone 105.9.com.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the show, off and running with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau. Staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Check them out at cspire.com. So it's a Reaction Monday. Anything you want to get into is cool with me. Cool with me. I selfishly took 7 or 8 minutes there in the previous segment, so at the end of the first hour, to kind of go over the thoughts coming out of State's win over NIU, Northern Illinois, this weekend. And we can get into whatever you want to get into here in an hour or two. It's cool with me. Your comments coming in on the live stream. Hey to you if you're on Facebook or YouTube or X, formerly Twitter. Just pop a comment in there and we can get to it. Rick on Facebook, we were talking about the stands being empty at the game. It was really hot. I mean, it was like 90 degrees in there at 8 p.m. and 95 during the game. Sun beating down, no wind. It was a hot day. Hottest game you've had. Rick said, I think the 3:30 start time for Tennessee is going to hurt in more ways than one. East side of the stadium would be like an oven at kickoff, but says I'll be sitting there with my bell. Yeah. What is the forecast for Saturday? Aren't they saying it's going to be a little more mild? I think they are. Let me look here, Rick. Hang on. I'll tell you from a North Mississippi perspective what they are saying about this weekend. Okay. All right. They're saying that, yeah, you're going to have a front that's going to come through later, middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday in North Mississippi. You're going to get a front come through there and bring some rain, like into Wednesday, overnight Wednesday, and in parts of Thursday. And so then on the back end of that, there's a couple of days where it's going to be really nice. Now, again, this is what it's saying for North Mississippi in that Starkville area. Friday, a high around 80 with a low that night of 59.59. Saturday, a high of 83. Sunny that day, a high of 83 with a low of 60. So may get a break. May get just a little bit of a break on the temperature of that 3 o'clock game this weekend. That's good. That's good. And with it being Tennessee, I think a lot of people are planning on being there. The team 4-0, so it should be a really nice crowd for the ball game. All right, if it was a night game, it'd be full. There's no doubt. So you know that the administration's a little disappointed to not get the night game. But as those things go, look, here's what it is. You gotta have a run of some winning and really drive a lot of attention to yourself to kind of get the pick of those night games. TV cares about one thing, and it's eyeballs. And there's nothing anybody can do about that. All right, here we go. Hour 2 headlines.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Anything mortgage related, buying, refinancing, that's where you want to go. Trust me. mortgagemanms.com. So, Will, you brought it up. Hail State fan, you brought it up as well. But yeah, there are reports. Here we go. Headline number 1, reports. Bruce Pearl, basketball coach at Auburn, is retiring. His son, Stephen Pearl, is likely to be named the next head coach at Auburn. Bruce Pearl retiring at Auburn basketball. Will says that there's a report is likely looking at a run for the Senate. He's going to go be a politician, and his son's going to succeed him there at Auburn as the basketball coach. What do you think about that? Sad news out of Orlando today. Central Florida assistant coach, offensive line coach Sean Clark passed away yesterday at the age of 50. Now, he's the former head coach at Appalachian State. You remember a couple of years ago when Appalachian State went to Texas A&M in College Station and beat them over there? Well, Sean Clark was their head coach when that happened. And then he went to be on the staff for Coach Frost at UCF. But he had been hospitalized with a medical emergency on September the 9th. Last week, Scott Frost said that Coach Clark was doing okay and in stable condition, and that when he passed away yesterday with his wife at his side, that it was unexpected. And so y'all keep his wife and family in your thoughts and your prayers. Pray for them for comfort and peace. The UCF team and their coaching staff, that's a shock. It really puts football in perspective. It's on the back burner. 50 years old, passed away unexpectedly after a medical emergency earlier in September. And I mentioned this to you. This is in college football. I mentioned this to you earlier. The ACC fined Syracuse $25,000 for faking injuries against Clemson when they beat them this weekend. Now, it's not an NCAA fine. This is the conference, the ACC fining them. But my thing is, what's that going to do? Okay, if you had told anybody at Syracuse, and okay, let me back up. It's not just a $25,000 fine that the ACC is giving Syracuse. Syracuse is also getting, here we go, a public reprimand. Good old public reprimand. Those are awful, aren't they? Here's my thing. If you had told anyone at Syracuse, the coach, player, the AD, the president, if you'd told them before the Clemson game, hey, if you will fake injuries, it will help you win. And you will only be fined $25,000. It'll help you win, though. Every single one of them would say, well, let's do that. That's worth it. So this is more of the stuff that we get from the leaders in all of college athletics, really, which is, we're gonna reprimand them publicly and fine them $25,000 for faking injuries. That'll show them. No. The only thing it shows is to anybody anywhere in your conference, if that's what the penalty is, don't worry about it. Just do it if it helps you win, right? That's not that bad. And those are your headlines, brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Luminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Let's see here. Unnamed texter says, how do you listen to the radio broadcast while you're in the stadium? Well, you got local radio. If you're in the home, you're talking about in the home stadium, one, you have local radio stations that carry it in the Starkville area, but you also can stream it on your phone you can live stream it at hailstate.com. You can find various live streams out there. The Varsity app, I think, streams it live. So there's more than one way to do it. Hey, and speaking of, here's what some of the big plays in the game sounded like on the radio on Saturday. State's win over Northern Illinois, the Huskies. 38-10 the final. State blew the doors open in the second half. It was a close first half. Here are the radio calls from the voice of the Bulldogs, Neil Price from Learfield.
Brennan Thompson in motion now from the right side. Takes a handoff, sweeping around left in, catches a block from Booth, gets to the 5, to the 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown! Brennan Thompson. Chapin fakes the handoff, loops it to Traore. The big tight end makes the catch and steps into the front left of the end zone. Chapin takes the snap, throwing deep down the left sideline. He's got Mosley, who runs under it at the 5, and his momentum will carry him out of bounds near the 4-yard line. Out of the shotgun, Chapin hands to Booth straight ahead behind the center of the line and into the land of milk and honey. Holst is locked onto him, throwing deep. It's intercepted in the end zone. Isaac Smith picks it off for Mississippi State in the back left corner. Chapin throws under duress. Down the left side for Evans. Runs under at the 20. Tries to pull away from a man at the 10 and gets tripped up at the 5-yard line. Hand off Booth. Running left with a blocker. That's Traore. Booth to the pylon at the front left of the end zone, and he scores. Mississippi State. Give Gayton straight ahead, and this time he's in. Touchdown, 𝐷𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢. You can wrap a perfect non-conference record in maroon and white as the Bulldogs defeat NIU in the first ever meeting between the teams today by a final score of 38-10.
So there's your calls from Neil on the radio. Neil Price, voice of the Bulldogs, from Learfield Sports. So regarding hearing it in the stadium, Clint mentioned on YouTube the Varsity Sports app. JS290 said live stream has a 30-second delay and mentioned the radio station there in Starkville, which is 96.1. And Rick said the radio station there will be one play behind. He said he wished there was a way to remedy that. You know, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll ask this afternoon, try to see what I can find out. And if I can get some information, I'll have it on the show tomorrow. There may be an in-stadium frequency, but I don't think there is because I think that would compete with the local radio station. But I'll see what I can find out. Maybe, just maybe. All right, and look, after the ball game, you know, I stay in the booth. We do what we do for a little bit before it goes to the fifth quarter show at the restaurant with Marcus and Jay. It goes down to the locker room where Neil Price gets on the elevator, zips down there to the locker room, and after Coach Lebby talks to the team and everything, he comes out and Neil catches up with him. So here's a little bit of that when it happened, you know, after the ball game Saturday night, out in the hallway outside the locker room, Neil Price interviewing Jeff Lebby.
Back outside the state locker room, the Bulldogs 38-10 winners over NIU to start 4-0 for the first time since 2014 and for just the 8th time in program history. And Jeff Lebby joins me to talk about the game. So let's start there. You've said you want your team's focus to be very small. I hear you say that all the time. So really 2 goals at the beginning of the year. Win that season opener, finish an undefeated non-conference. You've checked both those boxes. How's that feel?
It feels good, and proud of our guys. Man, the way we were able to come out in the second half and go finish the game the way we finished the game is a great sign for me as we go build on this win.
It felt like 2 very different halves because they outgained your team in the first half. You're up 4 points at halftime, but it was total domination, both numbers and scoreboard in the second half. What'd you say at halftime?
Yeah, just told them to go cut loose and play fast and free. I felt like we were really uptight at the beginning of the game, and I thought that it stole the emotion from us a little bit. So proud of our guys, man, at halftime and having the ability to come out and play the way we played in the second half.
Watching the game upstairs, it felt like Fluff Bothwell was a tone setter for you, and he made some big runs on that first drive in the second half, including one that helped you overcome that early holding penalty. How big was his contribution beyond the 100-yard rushing game today?
It was big. Just his physicality, how he's playing the game right now, I feel like he's just starting to hit a little bit of the rhythm. Vaughn did some really good things, and then obviously Zay finished the game out the way we needed him to.
I know that you've been looking for ways to get 𝐷𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 more involved, and as you get into SEC play, you've got to have at least 3 guys in that running back room who kind of get into that rotation. Has he cemented himself maybe as your 3rd guy, or is that still up for competition?
No, I think he absolutely has, and proud of him for just staying the course. He's getting better and better and doing some great things.
You've been wanting to get the run game going, and you and I have talked about the changes on the offensive line with injuries and everything else, but today, one of the biggest rushing efforts you've had this year. Now, back-to-back weeks, you've been good in the run game. What's starting to click there?
Yeah, I think, again, just being able to settle in up front. We've got our good rotation of guys that we know are going to go play for us. And our backs, they're doing some really good things. There's a lot that's still left out there, and that's where, you know, this week we've got to fine-tune it and find ways to continue to get better.
All right, so there's a little bit of the interview after the game with Jeff Lebby just outside the locker room. Like I said, one of the things that came out of the game was learning that it sounded like the young running back 𝐷𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 has elevated himself into that top 3 mix, and for whatever that is worth in terms of snaps and that sort of thing in the rotation going forward, you may see him a little more. So what'd you think? Oh, yeah. So Southern Miss played its first game on the road. They were what was their record at home? They were 2-1 at home? Yeah, they were 2-1 at home, and then played their first road game, went to Louisiana Tech, and it didn't go well. It's a 10-point loss, 30-20. And, gosh, I don't guess I realized that they pitched a shutout in the second half. You're talking about an odd game for Southern Miss. So they're down 30-10 at halftime. So it really got away from them in the first half. Second half, they outscored them 10-0. Defense pitched a shutout in the second half, but just could not catch up after that big first half. Braylon Braxton, 28 of 47, throwing a football, 392 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is you go on the road, throw for 392, just 122 as a team on the ground. And a big part of that, too, is that whatever La Tech was doing defensively, they kept Braxton sort of in check, running the ball himself. So QB had 23 yards on 10 carries, and so a long run of 15 and a total average of 2.3. So more than half of the yardage came from one carry. Yeah, so he was really limited running the ball. So tough for them. What do they have next? They're 2-2 on the year. That was not a conference game. La Tech is not in the Sun Belt, I guess, yet. So it's back home to host Jacksonville State from Alabama this weekend. And then back-to-back road games for Southern Miss at Georgia Southern and at Louisiana. If I'm looking at it right also, Jackson State was off this past weekend. They didn't play, had an open date. And everybody's getting 2 open dates this year because of the schedule falling in such a way that the season actually started in August. If I'm looking at this right, you didn't have any of the Mississippi schools in the SWAC playing this weekend. Let me make sure that's right. Is that right? Every time I click it, it switches back over to the Sun Belt. I don't want that. Yeah, they didn't play this weekend. And then next week in the SWAC, you'll get Jackson State at Southern in Baton Rouge. Huge game next Saturday night. You can watch it on the Plus. Alcorn will be at home this coming weekend hosting Arkansas Pine Bluff. Alcorn still looking for their first win of the year. Valley also looking for their first win of the year. They are 0-3, and they're going to host Saturday afternoon at 4 in Itta Bena, Texas Southern, who's also 0-3. They have 1 SWAC loss. This will be the first SWAC game for Valley. So they were all off this weekend. They'll play. They'll get back on the field next weekend. Yeah, okay, so just to recap, kind of reset it here a little bit. Land Rebel, I did see your text. This was in our headlines at the beginning of the hour. There's reports out there that Bruce Pearl, basketball coach at Auburn, is retiring. And everybody's saying he's jumping out of coaching to jump into politics and that his son – I mean, some of the reporting that I've seen – I say reporting. I mean, it's like posting on social media, these people that cover the sport saying that his son, Stephen Pearl, is likely going to just step right up and be their head coach. So I don't know. But Auburn will have a new person in charge. Anthony texted the show. It's Monday, so we're several days away. But he says, my early prediction for what I think will be a hard-hitting game for both teams, I'll take MSU 24, Tennessee 21. How about that? Let me just go ahead and tell you. I'll say this on Monday. If State hosts Tennessee and holds them to 21 points, I will be amazed. It'll be doggone amazing. That's a Tennessee offense that put up 45 against Syracuse. It's the same Syracuse team that went and shut Clemson down. Who knows how good they really are. They put up 45 against Syracuse, 72 against East Tennessee State, scored 41 in the loss to Georgia, including overtime, and then 56 points this week against UAB. Syracuse, East Tennessee State, Georgia, UAB. Fewest points they've scored all year was 41. That was against Georgia. So, if State's defense, it would be miraculous, is what it would be. the only way I could see it happening would be, again, somewhat miraculous type of effort defensively, and Tennessee having a bit of a turnover-filled game to end some of their drives, right? To hold that Tennessee team something like 21 points. You're going to have to score a bunch of points if you want to have a chance to win this game. I mean, there's just no other way around it. Hey, and I'm with you. Anthony says, I love miracles. He texted in on the Country Pleasing text line. I do too. Would love to see it. I'll be the first one calling it what it is. Miracle. Held them to 21 points. Miracle. I'll be the first one. What did Denzel say? White Denzel says, hey, Beeve, our buddies Chris Brooks and Brandon Shields decided to disrespect Union this past Friday and picked us to lose. Well, we took that as disrespect and went out and took our frustrations out on West Lauderdale. We're now 4-0. Hashtag Fear the Swarm. Don't you love hashtags in a text message? There's almost nothing better, is it? It's less of a tool, a functional tool, as much as it is a statement, putting hashtags in a text. 4-0 Union. Congrats, Denzel, and to everybody in, what are they, the Yellow Jackets? Congrats to all the Yellow Jackets. 4-0. All right, rolling it along with y'all here on hour 2 of this Reaction Monday. More of your texts and your comments coming up in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, Matt Wyatt here. Each week on the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast, we talk with the people who live it. Hunters, biologists, game wardens, local celebrities, and storytellers that know Mississippi better than anyone.
Those bass come up there and attack them. You know how mean bass can be there.
You're never going to believe this. Matt Wyatt just talked about your deer on the radio. I said, what did he say? He said, it was Photoshopped. And I said, what?
They don't know anything about hunting. They just have never had that right, that freedom.
Dude, that's us, man. That's what we do. So tune in. Be inspired, and we'll see you outdoors.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last but not least, pork and pineapple bun size, 3 links bun size. Look at that right there. Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. The Junction Deli's convenience redefined, and Prince Oil Company, a match made in heaven. The Junction Deli, fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil Company has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960. It's a pretty good little while. Wonderful people. Man, am I ever more tickled that they're a part of the show and I'm a part of their team now. As you know, if you listen to the radio show, I've been to the Junction in several different places around the state. I've bought gas just like you at a lot of places that are fueled by Prince Oil Company, and they are really wonderful people. By the way,
now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at the Zone1059.com.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Craig on YouTube. He said if State beats Tennessee, it'll be a 45-42 type of game. And, you know, with the athletes and the players that Tennessee has on its team and its defense, that'll be tough. You know, they really are loaded. They're very far along, and they have sort of unloaded the wagon, loading their roster, and they've got a really good team. And this, you know, you go back and watch the Tennessee-Georgia game. It's one of those. Every little bit of it is a coulda, shoulda, woulda. I mean, like, it's that close. Coulda, shoulda beaten Georgia. But didn't make all the plays you have to make. They said we'll listen to some of it tomorrow, maybe on the show. We'll see. If not tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. But Jeff Lebby having a press conference today, and we'll pick out some of the highlights of that. But I do see where he talked a great deal today about the importance of State having a sold-out stadium for the game this weekend. And, you know, look, ultimately it comes down to who's got the better football players, bigger, better, faster, who can do their job every single play over and over and over again more often than the other guys. That's usually the team that'll win. The more physical team will win. But we have seen that, you know, an atmosphere plays a role. It definitely did in the Arizona State game. It definitely, I mean, that student section being jam-packed along with the rest of the stadium, and then in the student section sort of leading the rest of the stadium in the noise levels and in the getting up and getting involved in certain times of the game. It plays a factor. It definitely does. So there's, you know, here's a coach in Lebby on Monday who's looking for every single thing he can get to go his way to try to pull off what would be a major upset. This is a very good Tennessee team coming in. Well, he knows that the stadium can play a role, and it's you got to sell that maybe a little more when they put you at 3:00 in the afternoon. In September, it's not as easy. If it's 6:00 at night, you don't really have to say anything, and it'll be sold out. Let's see what's up for Tennessee. So Tennessee, this road trip to Starkville, back home to host Arkansas, and then after that, back-to-back road trips at Alabama and Kentucky. They'll host Oklahoma. They get late, mid-November. They get a home game against New Mexico State. They'll travel to Florida and finish the season by hosting Vanderbilt. Tennessee does not have a very, outside of Georgia, they don't have a really tough schedule, do they? I mean, they really don't. All right, listen. By now you've heard this and probably talked about it with some fellow fans out there, but I had it in hour one in the headlines, and they're going to announce it tomorrow, Tuesday, like officially, the Southeastern Conference. They're going to have a TV show, I think, and announce the upcoming schedule for the 2026 season, which will also tell you officially who the 3 permanent opponents for every SEC school will be in the new scheduling model where you have 9 games, 3 permanents, and then you rotate everybody else. They're going to announce all that tomorrow. Well, they leaked it out there, and Chris Lowe, who used to work for the acronym, now he works for On3, broke the news today that according to sources, he knows and has listed here in the story everybody's 3 permanent opponents beginning next year. It's a 4-year locked-in deal. They'll reevaluate it and see if they want to do anything different after that. But here's what they say. And I'd love to know what you think about it. I'd love to know how you feel about it. State is going to get, as its 3 permanents, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. Ole Miss, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. How do y'all feel about that? When I first saw it, I thought, well, that's about right. Like, what else are they going to do? I mean, obviously Ole Miss, and then who would the other 2 be? You know, all right, fine. Alabama beats you, 29 out of 30 times you play them. All right. Well, that just is what you got to play somebody. Who cares if they've been good? They have been good. And they are good, and they will be good, okay? But who cares? You got to play somebody. It's just it kind of makes sense, right? You've played each other so much over the years and always played them. You didn't take these big lengths of time off from playing each other like other people did with Alabama over the years when they were good. And you're so close. Fan bases are close. It's an easy, drivable trip. I just think it makes a lot of sense. Keep playing that. They put Vandy on there. That's good. I mean, they're really good right now. Who knows? They may be gangbusters for the next 10 years. I don't know. Maybe not. But I like this. I just, it's only 3 of your 9 conference opponents. You're going to play those every year. The rest of them are going to rotate. It just makes sense. Ole Miss, Alabama, Vandy. I like that for State. All right, what about for Ole Miss? Ole Miss is getting State. Right, makes sense. LSU, right, makes sense. A long-standing rivalry. Been playing each other forever. Ole Miss had big chunks of time in its history where it didn't play Alabama and others, but it always played LSU. That's good. And then they have Oklahoma. So for Ole Miss, it's State, LSU, and Oklahoma. The Oklahoma thing is a head-scratcher. You don't really know why or for what reason. But as they're trying to piece this together, I mean, what else? There's got to be somebody. And outside of State and LSU, if you're Ole Miss, who cares who the third one is? Like, who do you really care? And they didn't give you Vandy because in the old era of the permanent cross-division rival, the entire league was jealous of the draw Ole Miss got for those 2 decades of getting to play Vandy every year and pretending as though there was some kind of rivalry there. It wasn't. So they just weren't going to give you that this time. That's basically the way that works. And all the others are rotating on and off. Anyway, I can go through the rest, but I will tell you the other 2 things that aren't in these reported permanent teams on each other's schedule, there's a bit of a head scratcher. There's only 2 where I feel like they fell short. You don't have Alabama and LSU every year. They are not on each other's list, according to this. So Alabama, LSU, not an every year thing. It could happen. It's just it would rotate on and off. And the other one you don't have is Tennessee and Georgia. Those 2 not playing each other every year. It would rotate on and off. Outside of that, I think this whole thing is just about perfect. Again, okay, if you ask me, Matt, you're a State fan, what would you well, personally, I would love for it to see if State had Ole Miss, Vandy, and maybe Auburn. I like the Auburn trip even better than the Tuscaloosa trip. It's just not as close. Okay? But nobody cares about that. So here's what they got. Alabama is getting Auburn, obviously, Tennessee, obviously, and Mississippi State. Those are the 3 permanents. Here's the thing about it. Alabama, Auburn, you bet. Iron Bowl. 3rd Saturday in October, you bet. That's the Tennessee game, always has been. They still want it to be. And then they didn't give them LSU because it would almost be unfair, wouldn't it? if you told Alabama, well, your 3 permanents are Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. That's not all that balanced. And so they didn't get that. They got state. So it's a little disappointing. You're not going to get Alabama, LSU as permanents, but whatever. And I will tell you, you probably know, I know some people who are LSU fans and have talked to them. And the number one game they get the most emotionally geared up for at LSU every year is playing Alabama. They look at it as not just a heated rivalry, a hated one. LSU hates Alabama. But Alabama doesn't look at LSU that way. They just don't. Arkansas's 3 permanents are Missouri, Texas, and LSU. Auburn is getting Georgia, of course, Alabama, of course, and Vanderbilt. I mean, got to play somebody. Florida is getting Georgia, of course, South Carolina, and Kentucky. Not getting Florida, Tennessee every year. Okay, Florida is actually getting a little bit of a nice draw there for its permanents. We'll see what the rest of the schedule is, but they're getting Georgia, South Carolina, and Kentucky. Georgia, Auburn, Florida, South Carolina. For Kentucky, their 3 permanents are South Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. Pretty tough on Kentucky. I mean, it really is. All former Eastern Division deals. LSU's 3 permanents. Arkansas, of course. Texas A&M, of course. And Ole Miss, of course. And look, and I know that people in the past have picked on, just for fun, have picked on some Ole Miss people about, them saying that LSU is their rival. But the fact is that game and it's the rivalry of Ole Miss LSU, it does go way, way, way back. And it's been going on forever. And, hey, say what you want. They've had some barn burners recently. And there's a bunch of Ole Miss people that cannot stand LSU. They hate them with every fiber of their being. I know some Ole Miss people that's the way they are. Genuinely, they're not making it up. Can't stand them. Well, sometimes that makes for good football rivalries. Missouri is getting Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. As we mentioned, Ole Miss and Oklahoma are permanents. Oklahoma will also get Texas and Missouri. It makes a lot of sense. The Ole Miss-Oklahoma thing is a little bit of a head-scratcher. I don't know really where that comes from. South Carolina is getting Georgia, Kentucky, and Florida. Texas, their permanents are all Southwest. Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. How about that? Let me know your thoughts. Back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, Matt Wyatt here. Each week on the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast, we talk with the people who live it. Hunters, biologists, game wardens, local celebrities, and storytellers that know Mississippi better than anyone.
Those bass come up there and attack them. You know how mean bass can be there.
You're never going to believe this. Matt Wyatt just talked about your deer on the radio. I said, what did he say? He said, it was photoshopped. And I said, what?
They don't know anything about hunting. They just have never had that right, that freedom.
Dude, that's us, man. That's what we do. So tune in. Be inspired, and we'll see you outdoors.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than what you and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple. Bun size, 3 links bun size. Look at that right there. Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. The Junction Delis, convenience redefined, and Prince Oil Company, a match made in heaven. The Junction Deli, fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil Company has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960s, pretty good little while. Wonderful people. Man, am I ever more tickled that they're a part of the show and I'm a part of their team now. As you know, if you listen to the radio show, I've been to the Junction in several different places around the state.
All right, back with you. A little bit of time left here on this Monday. Jason in Flagstaff texts the show on the Country Pleasing text line and says that stadium being full makes a huge difference sometimes. Watched Arizona State down 9 guys go beat Baylor Saturday night on 2 last-minute drives. Levitt doing most of it. Yeah, that's a nice win for them. I saw Sawyer Robertson threw 3 more touchdown passes in that ball game. He's playing well. Res Dog texts the show and says, of course we get Vandy when they are on the verge of winning the SEC. They're pretty good, aren't they? They are pretty good. 4-0 at Vandy. They just put up 70 on somebody in the non-conference. They got Utah State. They're hosting Utah State. Vandy, the wins are over Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech, of course, South Carolina on the road. They're not, South Carolina isn't and never really was as good as they were made out to be. It's just, I don't know. They do it. And then Georgia State. Okay, and then it's Utah State. So then we don't really find out about Vandy until they go to Tuscaloosa on October the 4th, get a week off, come back and host LSU in mid-October, host Missouri. They begin November by going to Texas, back-to-back home games with Auburn and Kentucky, and finish up at Tennessee. So you get into the SEC schedule. But right now, again, they are a good team, and they're playing really good football. But, it's Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech fired a coach, South Carolina, super overrated, and then Georgia State this weekend. And they put up 70 on them. You score 70 points on anybody, you've done something. But, yeah, off to a good start. What do you have this weekend? Who do you have this weekend? All right, here it is. Here's who you have this weekend. By the way, on Vandy, Sven says Vandy is not sustainable. When Pavia retires after 53 years in college football, they're back to winning 2 games. Kid really is a difference maker, isn't he? mean, it takes more than him, but he definitely is a difference maker. All right. Arkansas lost to Memphis. Now they're going to host Notre Dame. It's back-to-back road losses for Arkansas. And then they're going to host Notre Dame this weekend at 11 on ABC. So they really kind of outplayed Memphis. Memphis scored one touchdown where there was you just have to laugh at it because, I mean, you just won't ever see a receiver more obviously push off a corner on a go route in the end zone. Like, ball's up, they're both here, and I'm talking this wham, pushes. The poor kid for Arkansas almost got whiplash. He got pushed so hard on the push off. Kid catches it for a touchdown. They don't call it. Welcome to football at Memphis. Just, stuff's going to happen. But then, here you got the ball at the end. You're down 1 or whatever it was. And Arkansas just drove it right down the field, like hot knife through butter. They're on about the 6 or 7 yard line going in. Kid dives forward for a first down. But while he's diving, they punch the ball out, recover it, ball game. I mean, Memphis made the plays, but it was a weird thing. Arkansas couldn't stop them. And watch Arkansas turn around and beat Notre Dame this weekend. Notre Dame's 1-2 on the year. 11:45, Vandy's going to host Utah State. I mean, Utah State is 3-1. Are they any good? All right, Utah State. The Aggies of Utah State, they are 3-1. With a win over UTEP, a 44-22 loss at Texas A&M, a win over Air Force, and this past week they beat McNeese 48-7. LSU and Ole Miss, 2:30 on ABC, and it's in Oxford. And it just pay no attention to any rankings, y'all. Okay, the numbers that these rankings are putting beside teams, it'll fool you. They mean nothing. It's strictly for the purpose of promotion. You as a fan ought to be smarter than that. I don't care who you root for. You just should. Okay? I just encourage you to please be smarter than that. Just pay the AP stuff and coaches poll. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a number. But Ole Miss looks like a better team than LSU. They just look like a better team. And it's at Ole Miss. I mean, I just think Ole Miss is going to win the game. And they're already 2-0 in the SEC. I mean, this could be Ole Miss's year. Because when you look, okay, yeah, playoff deal. Okay, but just look at the SEC. I don't think LSU's better than them. I don't think ultimately, Alabama, everybody's high on Alabama. They beat the tar out of Wisconsin in Tuscaloosa, who went home, lost to Maryland. Yeah, Wisconsin's okay, so don't just think that all of a sudden Alabama's world beaters. They're really not. Texas, man, super beatable. They're not all that great on offense. They're over there bowing up and flexing their biceps on some FCS school like they did something. They're not all that great. It's really Georgia. You could absolutely, with a straight face and not even blink, make the argument that Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss are the 3 best teams in the SEC, hands down. And, it's not a slight to LSU. I don't care about what number they put beside you. I just want to see it first. I'm not discounting A&M, but again, they're a little bit. I just want to see it first. Also at 2:30 this Saturday, Auburn goes to A&M. That could be a good game. And then here we go, Saturday night, 6:30. This is why everybody's playing afternoon games. It's because the SEC is protecting ABC and their viewership for Alabama at Georgia in Athens. I think Alabama's fixing to understand. We probably shouldn't have handed out trophies after that Wisconsin game. I think Georgia's fixing to light them up Saturday night in Athens. Missouri will host UMass. Isn't that fun? You want to know an example of several different reasons why they're changing this thing to a 9-game schedule beginning next year? Here's why. 5 weeks into the year, we get Missouri hosting UMass. If you're the most diehard Missouri fan there is, why would you go to that? And if you do go to that, and you sit there and watch Missouri play UMass, you know what else you're doing? You're basically watching the Alabama and Georgia game on your phone the whole time. And then the late game Saturday night is going to be Kentucky at South Carolina in the whatever who cares bowl. 2-1 at 2-2. And overrated. And then, of course, in between there, the 3 o'clock game, 3:15 on the network, Tennessee at Mississippi State. And Tennessee's a pretty good favorite on the road. And, I mean, I think they should be. You know, their offense has been really, really good. It put up 41 on Georgia's defense, just couldn't stop Georgia, lose it in overtime. And they're, you know, Tennessee 0-1 in the SEC, so they're kind of up against it. State's first SEC game. But, you know, here's the thing about it. Like the coaching staff at State, Lebby and his coaches, and then the older guys on the team, they have lots of jobs to get ready to play this week, but one of their jobs, like part of their job this week, is to get all of State's team whipped up into a mindset of we got nothing to lose here. We're playing with house money. Yeah, it's big. We want to win it. Every person on the planet gives us no chance to win the game. It's at our place, and those guys are like touchdown and a half favorites on the road here. They got a big ranking. They're already 0-1 in the SEC. Can't afford to lose it. They're a playoff team, all this. We've got nothing to lose. If there's ever an SEC game where we ought to have as much fun as we can possibly have, this is it. 3 o'clock, the high temperature that day is going to be 83. We're going to wake up. It's going to be less than 60 degrees in Starkville that morning when you wake up. The stadium is going to be slam full. That'll be fun. Great weather. And a team in here who is going to be wound up tighter than you-know-who's hat band because they're already 0-1 in the SEC. We got nothing to lose. Fly around and have a good time. That's part of their job this week, is to make sure they understand that. Really, I'm just telling you, I'm not a coach for lots of reasons. Those guys are coaches for lots of reasons. They're detail-oriented. They're smart. They're going to pick out certain little things and be more confident in it. Okay, fine. But I'm saying if I'm a coach, the message of this is a game where you ought to have the most fun playing football as you've ever had. I would reinforce that and reinforce the message of whatever you do, even if you make a mistake. Now, I don't want you to make a mistake, but even if you do make a mistake, just make it going 105 miles an hour this weekend against Tennessee. And lay it all out there. You never know what might happen. Well, we're just getting started on the week, but that wraps it up for Monday. So we'll be back together tomorrow on a Tuesday in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. See you tomorrow.